we cannot forget about the little boy. After teaching the crowds and instructing his disciples about the kingdom of heaven that we read about last week in chapter 13, Jesus now makes the kingdom of heaven real, something tangible, through his act of healing and performing miracles that we read about in today's text. The kingdom of heaven goes from being an analogy. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field. The kingdom of heaven is like a pearl. It takes these analogies that we learned and it turns them into something lived. One where there's compassion. People share their resources, and there's more than enough for everyone. In fact, there's an abundance. Today's story, the feeding of the 5,000, is one that most people who have been exposed to the Christian tradition will have heard at least once in their lifetime. Interestingly enough, the story of the feeding of the 5,000 is the only miracle, aside from the resurrection, that appears in all 4 Gospels. And even more interesting, the Gospel according to John, which we didn't read from today, is the only one that even mentions this young boy. Did you notice that? It might be small to read. Some of you probably grabbed one of these handouts on your way in. But when you hear about this story, which version do you recall? In Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Jesus and the disciples have been teaching and healing, and they're exhausted. Evening falls, and the disciples were aware that the crowds were getting hungry. They advised Jesus to send the people to go get food. Now, it's not like there's shopping mall food courts and service plazas or fast food drive-thrus that they could just run and grab some food at. These men and women and children had been following Jesus for a long time, and they had very physical needs. It was getting dark, they had no flashlights, and I'm sure they were hangry. And Jesus, in this moment, challenges his disciples by giving them an invitation to action and involvement. And with one pointed phrase, they don't need to go away. You give them something to eat. In other words, you do it. And they produce 5 loaves and 2 fish. I don't know how. Matthew, Mark, and Luke don't quite tell us how. I'm curious. How do they do this? Where do they come from? Do you wonder about that? Well, the author of Matthew and Mark leave us wondering, and in a sense, Matthew and Luke leave us wondering, and in a sense, so does Mark. In Mark's account, the disciple asks if they should go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread. And I kind of love Jesus' response here. He says to them, "How many loaves do you have? Go and look." And when they found out, they said they had 5 loaves and 2 fish. But we still don't know where they got the 5 loaves and 2 fish from. But in John's account, in a way that seems like Jesus is probably testing his disciples yet again, Jesus asks Philip where he thinks they should buy bread for everyone to eat. And Philip responds to Jesus by saying, 200 denarii worth of bread would not even be enough for each of them to get a little. And that was the nice version. In his head, he's probably thinking, are you kidding me, Jesus? Do you see all these people here? We don't have the kind of money it's going to take to feed all of them. Now, 1 denarius was about a day's wage. And Philip, looking out over the crowd of hangry people, thought that 200 days' worth of wages would not buy enough bread to go around. Remember, only the men were counted in this story. When the women and children were added in, the crowd is probably numbered 10 to 20,000 people. But of course, Jesus knew exactly what he was doing when he asked Philip that question. And right on cue, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, brought forward a young boy carrying a basket. probably his lunch that his mom packed for him, with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. And even so, Andrew still wondered how that could help. We learned this week at Vacation Bible School that heroes are called to follow Jesus, help others, this is your quiz, work together, listen to God, and show grace. And I would like to add to that, heroes are called to trust God. We cannot forget about that boy. Whenever we learn about the feeding of the 5,000, we typically hear about Jesus and the crowd or the disciples. But we neglect this central character. The story of this little boy teaches us so much. No one in the crowd would have thought this boy even mattered. No one would have imagined what he was carrying in his little basket, and that what he was carrying would not only be the provision of the moment, but the basis of one of the most significant sermons Jesus ever preached. This was one little boy in the crowd with a little bit of seafood and a few loaves of bread. He didn't have much, but he offered what he had. Like the poor widow who gave her only 2 copper coins. This little boy thought, I might not be able to feed everyone, but I can share what I have. This everyday hero stepped up. He wouldn't call himself a hero, but I think he is. He goes unnoticed, but he has a lot to teach us. What if his tummy was rumbling and he said, I'm hungry, I need my food? What if he thought, who cares about all of these people? Let them find their own food. What if he thought what was in his basket was all he had to eat for the next few days, and he didn't know where his next meal would come from? But the story didn't happen that way. The boy selflessly gave up his little meal, and Jesus did with it what only the Son of God could do. By divine power, a crowd of thousands was satisfied, fully satisfied with physical food, and there were plenty of leftovers, an abundance of leftovers. And in doing so, showed that Jesus is also the source of our spiritual food that satisfies our soul. What an amazing story. Christ did the impossible through an unremarkable kid in the middle of a very big crowd. A kid just like any one of those little kiddos here today. This boy never received glory. He didn't ask for it. We don't even know his name. In fact, only one gospel writer even thought to include this fine detail. The point is that when we offer Jesus the gifts that we have, no matter how big or small we think that they are, Jesus can do miraculous things with them. We just never know what God will ask. We never know when God will ask it. We never know ahead of time what will happen when God does. We never know how God will redeem little bits and pieces and use them to give grace to the hungry. That's just the way that God works. I think of the free grocery store that's been happening in the parking lot of St. Matthew's every Monday since 2020. There are over 50 volunteers that come together and serve over 100 patrons each week. It wouldn't happen with just one person. It couldn't. And it's not just those who come on Monday night to stand in the line to hand out food either. There's multiple individuals out gleaning food every week. People who grow food, people who come early to sort the food, some who provide hospitality and a warm welcome, some who bake fresh goods to energize the volunteers, and others who all that they can give are homegrown flowers, or all that they have is their time to come and help take down the tents and clean up. And as someone who does events, that is a true gift. The point is, they're all gifts. Vacation Bible School could not happen without all of the volunteers. And not just the crew leaders and the station leaders, but the people who cut and delivered fresh fruit and snacks, or made skyscrapers, or an awesome newsstand to hand out our snacks at, or sewed capes, or cut out foam shields, or donated money to make sure that everyone who wanted to participate could do so. We have people who tend to the gardens. It's people who come and make layettes, someone who comes and prepares diapers, prepares the communion for us, tutors after school, cleans the bathrooms, helps with kids' church, mentors our youth. Everyone contributes what they can in a way that they can when they can. That little boy didn't have enough food for 5,000 plus people, but he had a little and offered it all. And look what Jesus did with it. When we offer what we have to Jesus, Jesus will do miraculous things with it. Even if we tend to think that what we have to offer isn't much, God does. And we have no idea what God will do with it. You don't have to wear a cape to be a superhero. You don't have to solve the world's problems on your own to be a superhero. You're already a hero and you don't even know it. And remember, heroes are called to follow Jesus, help others, work together, listen to God, show grace, and trust God. Give it all to God and let God do with it what only God can do.
This one goes out to the hero. Everyday hero. Yeah, I'm talking to you. You probably are like, I'm not hero. You're talking to the wrong person. And I'm all like, you're talking to your TV. So listen up. I think you're a hero and you don't even know it yet. Maybe you're like me. You look in the mirror and you don't really see a hero. You look and you just see a regular kid. A really good looking regular kid. But you're a hero. Whether you're a kid or a grown-up. You're way more than you might think you are. You're more than your problems and you're more than your mistakes. Somewhere inside, you're a hero. You might not have a cape or wear underwear outside your clothes. That's probably a good thing. You have everything right now to change the world. Everything! Heroes are just ordinary people who've done extraordinary things. They inspire other people to be extraordinary. People like Nathaniel. He's 12 years old and he's not okay with the fact that there are people in the world who don't have clean water. There is enough money to help 30 schools in Central Africa. Madison. When she was 15, she created a beauty pageant for boys and girls that have special needs because she wanted to celebrate real beauty. My friend Bob, he's 55 and he's living out love in so many different ways. Right now he's working on building the school so kids in Uganda know they're loved. Kids can change the world and grown-ups can change the world. It would go a whole lot faster if we worked together. Heroes are made when ordinary people like you and me decide to be extraordinary. Or extra ordinary. Extraordinary. That's too many extras. Here's what I'm trying to say. If you want to be awesome, treat people awesome. It's about strength. Firepower. Not like picking up a car kind of strength.